Hello everyone, my name is Shenyang and I'm a graduate student at Duke University. Today I'm presenting our study on the topics of aging, moral decision making, and resting state connectivity. We should talk about aging. Biologically, we all age. At the population level, there will be more older adults than there will be children in about 10 years. From the society's perspective, older adults are increasingly overrepresented in high positions relative to younger adults. Here's a figure of the age of U.S. presidential candidates by election year. Just notice the peak in 2020. This all means that more and more major decisions will be made by older and older people. Unfortunately, much is unknown about how older adults differ from younger adults in moral decision making. In order to study people's moral beliefs and decisions, researchers often use hypothetical moral dilemmas, in which people are asked to make a decision or judgment. As an example, suppose you run a clinic with 5 patients, and each of them is in desperate need of a different internal organ to survive. Now, a perfectly healthy person walks into your clinic, and you find that this person has a set of vital organs compatible with all of your patients, which means that you can save 5 people if you harvest those organs, although this one person will definitely die. The moral decision to be made here is whether to perform the operation or not. Choosing to perform the operation is in agreement with utilitarianism, which maximizes the well-being for the most people. Alternatively, choosing not to perform the transplant is in agreement with deontology, which holds that one should always adhere to certain moral principles or duties. We recruited nearly 200 younger and older adult participants, and each of them responded to 16 moral dilemmas, in which 8 were sacrificial dilemmas like the transplant example. We found that older adults made more deontological moral decisions, consistent with several prior studies. Our second goal was to explore the relationship between the behavioral differences in the younger and older age groups with their resting state fMRI data. The default network is associated with self-referential processing, social cognition, and simulation of possible outcomes. The executive control networks help guide introspective processing and emotional responses, which are also relevant to moral decision-making. Past research has found that older adults exhibit enhanced integration of the default network with the rest of the brain, especially the executive control networks. The figure on the right shows that the anticorrelation between the posterior cingulate cortex and dorsal attention network found in younger adults is reduced in older adults. Meanwhile, previous task-based fMRI study in younger adults found that there was increased activation in the posterior default network when people were making deontological decisions. Therefore, we specifically focus on the resting state connectivity between these networks. Consistent with the literature, we found that older adults showed increased connections between the default network components and executive control networks. Next, we analyzed if any of those differences in resting state connections predicts people's moral decisions. We took a linear mixed model approach, which revealed that first, older adults made more deontological decisions than younger adults, and second, the connectivity between the posterior medial component of the default network and the dorsal attention network is positively associated with how deontological people's moral decisions are. In summary, in this study, we found that older adults made more deontological moral decisions than younger adults in sacrificial moral dilemmas. Using resting state connectivity from the same participants, we found that the connectivity between the posterior medial component of the default network and the dorsal attention network predicted moral decisions in both age groups. To our knowledge, our study provides the first evaluation of differential network connectivity associated with differences in moral decision-making in younger and older adults. With all that, I would like to thank all my collaborators who have shared their insight on this project. In particular, my PI at Duke, Felipe, who directs the IMC lab, my co-first author on the manuscript, Leonard, and Dr. Nathan Spring, who directs the Laboratory of Brain and Cognition at McGill University. Thank you all for your attention, and I look forward to talking with you more about this during my poster session later.